20 Questions With on the wireless from Age UK.
The wireless.
Hello, this is Rob Jones and welcome to 20 Questions With. Our guest on this edition of the show was born in Hertfordshire and started his musical career with Buster Michael and the Daybreakers. After a stint with the Roulettes backing Adam Faith, he then went on to join Unit 4+2 in the early 60s, before becoming the lead singer and guitarist with Argent. He's a prolific songwriter for people like Rainbow, Santana, Kiss, Colin Blunstone and Hot Chocolate, to name just a few. So, my first question is, what is your name?
My name is Russ Ballard.
And it's great to have you with us. And
It's great to be here.
I've seen you on the telly from years gone by. I've heard
You're
so
too
much
young.
of your stuff.
You're too young.
And I've seen you on so many credits because you've written so much stuff.
Yeah.
So the second question is, number 2, what do you do? Which is the main bit?
I'm a musician, you know, and so for me, from the moment I was born, I was immersed in music, you know, so I've been playing. I was always picking out tunes on the piano, you know, when I was a kid, when I was a small kid. My dad was a musician, my mum was a dancer, and so I was always doing that, and then I was sent to piano lessons when I was 8.
Early, right?
When I was 8. But I was playing the drums before that because my dad was a drummer. So he used to bring his drums home. So I was doing like diddle-diddle-diddle on the drums and stuff like this.
Paradiddles and all that?
All that kind of stuff. Well, I didn't know they were paradiddles. But and then I started to learn the guitar when I got to 11 and 12. And so I've always been immersed in music. So I feel I'm every one of those things: the writer, the musician, the songwriter, you know, and the producer. Of course,
And the performer as well, I guess.
Yeah, and performing as well. You know, just it's taken over my life, Rob.
And probably given you quite a good life, I suspect.
Oh, fantastic. You know, I've been blessed. Someone up there likes me, you know, I think.
Yeah. Which of the parts of the job, though, do you get the most from? I'm sure you get something from each of them, but which is the biggest buzz?
It's very difficult because they're different. I mean, performing. I mean, I got into a band to perform, not to write songs or anything. You know, when you're young, you just want to be in a band.
Yeah.
It all looks so exciting. You want to be in a band with your friends. And you want that whole thing, you know. You want that whole buzz. And, of course, once you start to play and you get a set together and the audience are exciting, they come back to you and you send it back to them. And it's that's amazing. That's what I got into it for. Although I wrote a tune when I got to 14. I was in a band when I was 12. But when I was 14, I wrote my first tune, which was an instrumental that the Shadows recorded. And that gave me the buzz and the impetus to think, I can do this, you know. I can do it.
Which one was that?
It was a tune called The Lost City.
Yes.
Originally it was called Atlantis. And then they recorded a tune called Atlantis. But they had my tune for 4 years before they recorded it. And... But they put it on Sound of the Shadows, an album called Sound of the Shadows that was a top 10 album. And I saw Bruce Welch not long ago. He said, "How's the publishing going, Russ?" You know? So that was funny. But it's all great, you know. I love being in the studio. I love the whole idea of writing because, you know, when you write, you have this idea in your head of what this is going to be like when it's finished. It never sounds exactly that when it's finished, but it changes and sort of... But in the end, the whole process is wonderful. You know, I come out of the studio every day feeling, you know, uplifted every single day. You know.
And do you always record your songs first yourself?
Yeah.
Then let someone else have a go as well?
Yeah. The only time I didn't is when I did a song in 1975. My brother found this little band called Hello. We called them Hello. And we did this song called New York Groove. But I had the title... But I booked a studio, Livingston Studios, that was then in Barnet, and I'd got the band, and they were only 16 years old, and it was the time of glam rock and all that, and I got them stamping on trestle tape. I knew I had this title, New York Groove, and I knew what beat I went on the Bo Diddley beat, that sort of feel. That's the only time I've gone into the studio without having much idea of how it was going to sound. And I made up in the studio the chorus, you know. I think here's a bit missing here. Let's put a rap in here, you know. Let's stick a rap in here. So, and then that was a big hit. And then Ace Frehley from Kiss did that one. That got to number 7 in the States. He did a different kind of version. Then Kiss do it live, or used to do it live. I don't know if they still do. So that took, I guess, 2 hours to write, I guess.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Here's question number 3 to Russ Ballard. Where did you grow up? Let's talk about the very early years. And we know you started learning the piano at 8, but you grew up in Hertfordshire, was it?
Yeah, Waltham Cross, very close to the Abbey. Waltham Abbey is where my mother was born, and my dad lived in the next street to me. And I was born in Eleanor Road, Waltham Cross. And it was a great little village then, a great little village. I remember it didn't have a bathroom. We used to have the metal bath. My brother and myself, my brother was 4 years older. We used to have a metal bath, but in front of the fire, and I used to use his water, and it was always cold. The house was always cold, and we used to have gas mantles. That shows you how long ago it was. We had gas mantles on the, Then suddenly my dad could turn his hand to anything, and he made a bathroom. I remember making a bathroom, then a kitchen. My mother used to call the kitchen the scullery. That's the kitchen we had. It wasn't a kitchen, it was a scullery. So it's like going back to Victorian times.
Here's question number 4. Difficult one. What's your most treasured possession?
There's a couple of things I have, actually. Probably 2 things, but out of the 2, probably a Steinway piano that I have.
I thought it was going to be something like that.
Yeah. From 1980. It was an inducement to sign. I signed with Ireland Music, and part of the inducement was that they bought me I'd never had a grand piano before. I wrote most of my tunes on an upright piano, which my mum bought me. And they bought me this. It's called a Steinway B, but I actually went into Steinway's showrooms. They had all these. They've got probably 20 pianos there. And I've just walked around trying all these pianos out. That's the brightest one. I'll take that one.
Is the piano your instrument of choice then? Really, if
I'm writing, yeah. I've always written. Until this album, I've always written on piano. This is the first time I've chosen to write exclusively on the guitar.
Okay, well, we're going to hear some stuff from your new album, but let's go for your first record choice now. And this is a big one, isn't it?
Yeah, this is a song from my album, the Russ Ballard album from 1984. This was on Miami Vice, played on there quite a lot.
It's 20 Questions with Russ Ballard. Here's number 5. The happiest day of your life. Always a difficult one, this, because there's so many, I guess, that you have to choose from.
No, I think that's got to be the birth of my son, Christian. Yeah, that was something new, Never experienced anything like that before. And to see a little organism born and crying, and, you think, wow. And then I think you probably realise why we're here, to keep the species going or whatever, and then that's the start of your problems, and then when they start to, you worry about them going to school, worry about them going to sleep, you worry about them just surviving, really, and we're still the best of friends. I see him every day. He has a studio with me.
So he's in the business?
Door. Yeah, he's in the business. He's mixing and he's a great DJ. They've got some great stuff going on.
Here's number 6 to Russ Ballard, and I wonder, what are you scared of?
The phone call, I think. The phone call. Whenever I've had, the good news and the bad news, but, I've had so many unfortunate calls on the telephone. When you get the phone call, and I said, people have said to me, I've got some bad news. I've got some bad news. And that's happened to me so often when I get bad news on the phone. Get good news as well, but I got the news about my dad. My brother phoned me to say, got some bad news. Dad died last night. What? Then my niece phoned me to say, got some bad news. Dad died last night. My brother, 20 years ago. And that's happened to me a lot. And my daughter phoned me to tell me Adam Faith had died, because he used to come over to the house, and I spent a lot of time with him, Dad, I've just heard on the news that Adam died last night. What? And I was with him a month before, So, I mean, those phone calls, I've had quite a few of those, you know. But
Gosh,
I mean,
that's a very interesting one.
yeah, yeah.
So sometimes when the phone rings, there's a pang of, ooh.
No, it's true. That's absolutely true. Because or the Inland Revenue, you know what I mean? One of those sort of things.
Oh, no, don't talk about it. Adam Faith, interesting character though. And you were in the Roulettes, which is his backing band for all those big early hits.
Yeah, he was such a character. He was a great personality, very, very charming, you know, and he was such a character. And taught me a lot, you know, because when I joined him, I was 16, he was 22. And when you go to somebody's house like that, you know, that's an icon, it was only Cliff Richard and Adam Faith were the two biggest names in the country, you know, and to turn up at this 22-year-old boy's house, you're seeing him all the time on television, turn up to this Tudor mansion, and the guy that opens the door is his valet, or his butler, you know what I mean?
Wow.
And it was very, very strange to see. He was very, I guess, a precocious kind of guy. Not pretentious, precocious, you
Confident.
know. Confident. Very confident. He used to sort of jump in his car. I used to get in the car with him, and he'd Bert would be driving. His driver would be driving the car, and Tel would get in with the Daily Express, the Telegraph, you know, all the Times, and go straight to the finance page, you know.
Well, I wonder if this is the same answer then. Number 7, who was your hero?
My hero was actually my father. He was my hero because he was a big influence on me. He made me feel important, you know, and he used to bring me into his confidence all the time. He used to talk about his problems and things, and I was only about 13 or 14, you know, get in the car with him. But he knew I was interested in what he was saying, you know.
Who were the artists in those early years that really turned you on?
Oh, it was the rock and roll thing. The first invasion, which was Presley, Little Richard, Jerry Lee Lewis, Chuck Berry. Those people, they were the people that were so exciting for the time, you know. And I've always been an analyzer, you know, tried to analyze, why is this so exciting? And you realize, you know, tension and release. Those songs had tension and release. I've never heard anyone talk about that.
No, tell me, what do you mean?
You know, talk about tension, the idea of holding something back, and then suddenly you let it go, which is probably a scientific, philosophical thing. I don't know. But, you know, when you have, well, it's 1 for the money, 2 for the show, 3 to get ready now, go, cat. And you're into it. And went through a party at the county jail. Prison, they all did that. Open up, honey, it's your lover boy, me, that's a knock-in. Why don't you waiting for that release? And when the release happens, it's so exciting, you know. And they all did that, you know. I'm going to tell Aunt Mary about Uncle John. Teddy had the blues, but he has a lot of fun, oh, baby. Yeah! You know, they all did that. And you realize, I've always been an analyzer of this stuff, you know, so... it was the excitement. That was the excitement in rock and roll, I think.
Tell me about those early groups.
Well, the Zombies came from St Albans, and I came from. I was only 15 minutes away. I was in. Then I was in Cheshunt on Cuffley. So you know, I know the Zombies won a talent contest when they were very, very young. Rod wrote "She's Not There" when he was 17, you know, so they had a big hit with the first record, you know, worldwide hit with the first record. And we used to do, I was with Adam Faith, so we were doing TVs together. We were doing lots of TV shows, Ready, Steady, Go, Thank You, Lucky Stars. And we were often in the same dressing room, you know, so there'd be 3 or 4 bands in one dressing room. Ready, Steady, Go was done at Kingsway, and it was a very small studio. Very exciting because you'd have B.B. King coming in, guesting. You'd have the Stones on there. They were all lip-syncing then. Then it went to Ready, Steady, Go Live, and Dusty Springfield was on. And you'd have, we must have done that 15 times, you know. The Who were on, and Small Faces. I got chatting to Rod, you know, and we struck up a friendship. That was in 1964. 64, 65. So, and then we used to see bits of each other, you know, we'd do university shows together. Sometimes it'd be Humble Pie would be on or whatever, or these kind of bands would be on.
Them, yeah.
And we struck up a relationship and became friends. And actually, Rod came to see us. I after the Roulette split, I joined the Unit 4 plus 2. Yeah. In fact, I played on the record. But because they didn't have a guitar player or a drummer, So they asked me if I play guitar, and I played the lead guitar on Concrete and Clay. They were just 4 musicians, and they didn't have a bass player. They had a bass player. They didn't have a guitar player or a drummer. We made the record, and they then found a guitar player and a drummer. And when the roulette split, they said, "Why don't you come and join us?" So Bob Henry and myself, we joined Unit 4. We became the +2. Yeah. But we were the +2 on the record anyway.
It's a bit like football transfers in those days, wasn't it?
No, the money's not as good.
Here's question number 8 now to Russ Ballard, and it's a daft one. What did you do yesterday? Yesterday, I went for... It was a day off, believe it or not. I went for lunch with my friend Bob Henrett, Dave Courtney, who's a good old friend, and he came with Bob, actually, and Phil Wainman, who was the producer that produced a lot of the Sweet stuff years ago. And he told me, I didn't realise yesterday, Phil told me that he wrote Little Games at the Yardbirds. So, I mean, I was so surprised, and I said, I forgot you wrote, you produced the Sweet songs. I said, I knew you did Bay City Rollers, but I never knew you did the other stuff. And so that was lovely. I haven't seen him since 1979, 1980. Do you think the bands these days have as much fun as you had in those days? There was much more intermingling. It seems to have been a more exciting time than bands have these days.
Well, you know what they called it, Rob? They called it that British invasion was it? What was it? Swing in London and all that. You know, it was very, very exciting. You know, the great thing about that time was all these bands like the Spencer Davis Group, who I was friendly with as well. The Spencer Davis Group, Eric Clapton, the Yardbirds, the Stones, whatever, the Who. They'd all meet in the Blue Boar. They're all coming back from a gig like Manchester or Birmingham or wherever. They were coming down the M1. And so, you know, you would automatically meet on a Sunday morning, like 2 o'clock in the morning, along with the bikers and all this, the Hells Angels. And you'd be stuck in the Blue Boar and it'd be absolutely packed. You look over there, it was the Animals. Going back to London, there was Spencer Davis Group and there was the Stones over there. All that kind of thing was really, really exciting. But you know, I guess it still goes on. You know, I'm sure you could have this chat in 40 years' time, and they'd be saying, "Oh, it's not the same."
I'm not sure. Here's number 9, another silly one. Who was the last person you spoke to on the phone before you came in this room?
Today, it was an old friend. It's a good friend of mine, a guy called Peter Ross. And he's a very good friend, and they say he's probably going to be the new Steve Jobs. I don't know, but he could be. He could be.
Next record, please.
Yeah, well, it's a song that I wrote in 1973. I just remember writing this tune, having this idea for a lyric, which was love your friend, love your neighbour, love your life, love your labour. It's never too late to change your mind. Don't step on snails, don't climb in trees. Love Cliff Richard, but please don't tease. God gave rock and roll to you, you know, that was the idea of it. And if you want to be a singer or play guitar, man, you got to sweat or you don't get far. It's never too late to work 9 to 5. And if you're young, you'll never be old. Music can make your dreams unfold. How good it feels to be alive. I took it into the band, into Argent, and we slowed it down. I had it faster. I had it a bit faster than the way we recorded it. It was taken too slow for me. The end product was too slow, but it was a hit. It became a hit, and then Kiss did it years later.
Why did you pick the Kiss version?
They've got the tempo dead right. That's how I would have done it. I would have done it more like that, to be truthful. It's got a lot of energy. I would have kept my lyrics. They've changed the lyric to the first verse. I would have kept the lyric, but they saw it right, I think, myself.
God gave rock and roll to you. Gave rock and roll to you. Save rock and roll for everyone. Save rock and roll.
It's 20 Questions with Russ Ballard. And here comes number 10, Russ, now. Have you got any awards?
Yeah, well, I've got, well, through my life, yeah, I was a very keen footballer when I was young. And I wanted to be a footballer, actually, when I was really young. And was captain of my school team and stuff, and we used to win cups and leagues and things, and so I won a few medals for football and for cricket, and then after that, I was actually a high jumper, believe it or not. You'd never believe it, would you? Yeah, but this was at primary school. I've got a certificate at home as I won the school high jump thing, but you would never believe it. But I don't know. I think I wore the others down. But after that, I've got gold discs and silver discs and things like that for songs that I've written. And I've got 3 ASCAP awards from the American Society of Composers and Publishers. I've got a 2012 classic writer from Classic Rock online thing and magazine. I got that from the readers, which was very uplifting for me.
We're changing the subject now completely for question number 11. What is your signature dish? Do you like cooking? Do you do any cooking?
No, I don't actually. I can't get in the kitchen actually. I've got a daughter that lives with me, and I've got Denny that came as a nanny, still with me, and she's housekeeper come best friend and everything else. And it's one or the other in the kitchen. So I go out to eat a lot. It's usually to the Italian or the Indian or the Chinese. So I do like an Italian dish they don't have on the menu in my local, but it's called spaghetti aglio olio.
Sounds like it's got garlic in it.
Exactly. Chili, garlic. Yeah, basically it's that, and it's magic for me. It's addictive.
Yeah, very good.
Yeah.
Well, but we're going to go down that Italian now for the spaghetti aglio olio. Who's coming with us? 4 people, 5 people that you'd like to join you as your dinner guests?
Oh, dinner guests. Oh, God.
They can be dead or alive, by the way.
Dead or alive.
Yeah.
Elvis. I don't think Elvis would probably be a great dinner guest, but I just like him there.
You just need him there, yeah. It's got to be there. He might eat a lot.
Yes, that's true. Yeah, he'll have to be veggie burgers, not hamburgers. But Steve Jobs.
Be interesting.
I've read his book, and I think he would be an interesting one. Yeah, it'd be an interesting one. Probably, I like Tony Bennett there because he seems like an interesting guy. I saw him the other day, and I saw him doing that duet with Aretha Franklin. She can come as well. They can sing halfway through the meal.
You need a lady.
We've got
to have a lady there.
Yeah, and probably, I don't know, Jesus. He'd be good. He could supply the wine.
It's a good lineup. Are you? I mean, the last one's interesting. Are you a religious person?
I don't think so. Not particularly. I'm very aware of spirit. Very, very aware of it. And that I don't know whether it's being in the music business, that kind of writing tunes and vibrations and whatever. I don't know, but I do feel I've used God a lot in songs from when I was a kid. My mother was very religious, so you don't know how much of that that influence goes in. My mother could quote anything from the Bible, and she used to. So she used to say all this stuff to me, I still quote them, funnily enough, but I don't feel religious. It seems to be a big problem with the world to me.
It must be quite spiritual, though, writing a tune or having a tune come to you.
Exactly.
When does that happen?
Well, I could write a tune anytime. I could sit and write a tune. It doesn't mean to say it would be any good, but I could write a tune. I could just come up with with a tune. It's great when you're inspired.
Do you write music?
Well, but at the moment, I'm sort of teaching my grandson to theory, and it's a nightmare because he doesn't want to do it, and my daughter wants him to do it, and I say, look, I don't want to push him into this. He's going to music lessons. I want you to sort of like help him. So the theory is all coming back to me. I'm going through it. I've never needed it, Rob.
Well, he's got a great granddad who's got some new songs out. And we're going to play one now. Tell us about this one.
You know what? A writer's always looking for something to write about, basically. With me, it's usually a lyric. So you're looking for maybe a new way to say the same old story, a new way. And when you find it, it's great. I had this idea for Time Machine, thinking about, again, going back in time and meeting people that you've met before, maybe They've gone from your life. Maybe they've walked away and they might come into your life again. Or maybe they've gone never to come back again or whatever. But I wanted to write about that and say, wish I could build a time machine and finish what we begun. Or even like an emotional idea of, you might have separated from a loved one. And I wish I could go back to that and maybe repair what I did. Or maybe we could get it back together and repair what we did. And then I ended up with, if I build it, they will come. If I build it, which is not mine, but it's a nice little idea. I thought it was nice. It would be so good to go back in time and do it all again with you. But time can change everything, We could make now the new. And, that was the idea now.
I will build a time machine. When I build it, you will come. 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 When I build it, you will
It's 20 Questions with Russ Ballard, Time Machine, new one from him. Here's question number 13 now. If you could tell me, I guess you've travelled a lot, haven't you, over the years? Yeah. If you could tell me just one place that we really need to go and visit, got to go there, where would that place be?
I was very impressed with, and also it doesn't take long on a plane as it happens, it doesn't take long. If you go to Naples, jump on, get into a cab and go to Positano. The whole coast is the most Amalfi Coast. I'd go there because there's so much to see in between, it's just absolutely amazing. Right the way along, and my son was married there. He was married there about 9 years ago. And it's just amazing. Positano is it's in a valley, and the town is on the mountainside all the way around you, So the day before he was married, I booked a garden that we could, all the guests could have dinner in, and a waiter, a couple of waiters actually, in this beautiful garden with torches, flaming torches and stuff, and all the way around. When it started to get dark, the whole mountainside started to light up. It was magic, and very hilly, so you need to be fit or take a cab because it's very, very hilly. But it's an amazing coast. Then you've got Capri further along and all the other little places it's amazing.
Here's question number 14 now to Russ Ballard. If you met the 18-year-old you, what would you think and what would you say to that 18-year-old Russ Ballard?
I'd say, don't worry, it'll be all right. It'll be all right, don't worry.
Were you a worrier?
Yeah. I was a worrier.
What used to worry you?
The phone call.
Full circle.
And there's certain things I'd say life develops what it demands. Embrace the unknown. That's where the growth is.
Ooh.
You see, you don't grow from what you know. You grow from what you have yet to know, but we are afraid of the unknown. And I think I was like that. I was afraid of the next thing. I was afraid of, and I was pretty tough as a kid. I was pretty tough. I used to love boxing, Rocky Marciano, Don Cockle, and all that kind of stuff. I used to love all that. My dad used to wake me up at 3 o'clock in the morning and say the fight is on from Madison Square. I was 8 years old, and I used to sit I lay next to him in the bed between my mum and dad. And you'd hear Eamon Andrews from me. Hey, this is Eamon Andrews from Madison Square Garden. This is Rocky Marciano for Don Cockle. And I used to listen to this stuff. My dad used to, and I had 2 pairs of boxing gloves, and I used to love fighting, but I was never an aggressive kid, but I used to love fighting.
You don't strike me as being very aggressive.
No, I know. I'm not now. I'm not now, no.
Excellent. Here's question number 15 now, so a little bit of the previous one. What's the best thing about being older and wiser?
I guess you have a lot more, experiences to call from. You've got that wealth of experience, all that stuff you've lived through. maybe that's why people get Alzheimer's and dementia. Maybe they have to, they fill up their brains with, or their memory banks with so much. You've got to make room for the other stuff. But I love getting older. There's something about it. It's not what I thought it would be. Roger Daltrey said to me only a couple of years ago, funnily enough, we're on a plane together, and he said to me, your mum and dad don't tell you, do they? And I reminded him recently, I said, do you remember, I've been thinking about that. He didn't develop it, but your mum and dad don't tell you. It's not exactly what you think it's going to be. When you get to 40, you feel the same as when you were 30. When you get to 50, you don't feel any different. And the fact is, it keeps going like that. But I guess I have an uncle, my mother's brother is 97. And I speak to him on the phone. It's like speaking to a 50-year-old. And I spoke to him 2 years ago and said, they call him Perce, his name is William, but it was always called Perce in the army, apparently. Yes. How are you doing? I said, you're going to get a few telegrams from the Queen, Perce. And he said, do you think so, Russ? He said, I'm ancient. And I said, what's the secret, Perce? He said, I don't think I worry. And it's probably true. It's a lot to do with it. He always seemed very relaxed to me. And I went over to his house, sat with him. And, you speak to him, he's wonderful. He stands up and he can hardly move, and he's on a Zimmer frame. And it really shook me because he sounds like a young man. But getting old, I quite like it.
Here's number 16. Have you ever been starstruck? Were you ever starstruck? Yeah, it's a very funny thing. When you're young, when you're 11, 12, 13, 14, I was immersed in Elvis. To me, I heard the music first of all and then saw his picture, and it was as good as his music and stuff. And, I want to be like that. But at that age, 11, 12, 13, and 14, you're very influenced by people older than you. Well, I want to do that anyway. I'd love to be able to do that. And I remember the Shadows, it was the Drifters were really big. It was Cliff Richard's band originally called the Drifters. Mm-hmm. They weren't the Shadows. And I met Tony Meehan. I did a show when I was 13. Tony was only 16. And he was playing drums for Cliff Richard. And he was amazing at 16, And he was such a great guy. And I'd been watching him on television. And I was always starstruck with Tony. It's number 17 now. A complete day off. Just to yourself. There's no work here. So What are you going to do? It could be a book, could be a walk, could be a film. What's it going to be? It's just you.
Well, if it's a film, it's probably be Death in Venice, because I just loved that film. There wasn't a lot of dialogue in it, but it was just beautiful. It's just appealed to me. And they had some great music. Mahler's Fifth was played all the way through it. That's a beautiful piece of music. That sort of tension and release, that kind of rising and falling music that was going all the way through it. And I didn't know it was Mahler's Fifth. And if it's a walk, I'd go to The Road Less Travelled, which is a book. Yeah, the book. And it's all philosophy on... and it's written by a guy called M. Scott Peck. Well, I've so many of these books, Rob, so many of these books that are uplifting, but they're a guide to life. These little things like... with M. Scott Peck was... a psychiatrist, psychologist. So the whole book was how you can sort of develop your life and how you can have a better life, like do your homework before you go out to play kind of thing, these little things right the way through. But then it became deeper and deeper. And they started talking about the higher qualities of the mind, about God and this kind of thing, and spirit and how, how we think and this kind of thing. And I love that, In fact, the very first one I read, before I got into that, when I was about 30, there was a book by a guy he was a Swami guru called Swami Narayanananda. And he wrote a book called The Secrets of Mind Control. And I thought, if there's one thing I need, it's that, And I read it with great interest. And it's the same kind of thing with these books, these sort of emotional, spiritual growth books. You get little moments of each one is really uplifting and, But it's always been a part of me, I think anything you read, anything you see, people become part of you. You think you're separate, but you're not. I'm not separate from you. You have the same fear as I have, the same energy, the same laughter. You have the same... If crack a gag, we both laugh at it, and you know what I mean? One moment we're crying, next minute we're laughing, and sometimes we feel guilty. And it goes right the way through, whether it's you or me or the guy in Africa, the guy in wherever, we're the same, but we don't realize we're the same. We're the same. Different image when we look in the mirror. We're the same. We have the same emotions. That's what's so tragic about human beings, that we are the same. We see through our conditioning. We're not separate from each other.
Let's have another piece of music now.
Yep.
And it's Rainbow. Tell us about this one.
Well, this was on an album. The song I wrote in 1975, and this was my first single. This version isn't my single, but my recording of it came out in 1975, and Rainbow recorded this in 1978. But I always thought it was a hit. When I wrote it, I got the chills, when I wrote it on the piano. I thought, God, this is strong. And Muff Winwood produced it, from Spencer Davis Group, Steve, his brother. He became a very good friend. And, basically, again, it probably demonstrates my insecurities, the lyric, since you've been gone out of my head. Can't take it, can't face it. But, I always loved this song, and it's certainly been good for me.
It's 20 Questions with Russ Ballard and Rainbow, Since You've Been Gone. So here's question number 18. If you could live a year of your life again, which one would it be? Difficult to identify, I suspect.
Yeah. Probably looking back, 1972, when we had Hold Your Head Up out, and it was happening really big.
This was Argent, of course.
That was Argent, yeah. It got to number 4 in America, and we were touring out there. I think we did 8 tours. I did 8 tours with them. I think they did a few without me once I'd left. But there were so many little complications on that tour, like the organ folding up and stuff like this. Because we took our own organ out there. It was on a different voltage system, so we had a transformer, and that kept cutting out. We'd be playing, halfway through the set, and suddenly go, wee, like this, we'd stop, and Bob would do a drum solo, and there was so much of that. The set was a good set, but it should have been worked out a lot better. We did really, really well, actually, to be honest, but I was a bit frustrated by that. I'd like to have done that again, but it's not to be.
Question number 19 to Russ Ballard. What does the future hold?
Well, hopefully lots more music. I've really enjoyed making this album that's out now, and it's such a buzz. I haven't lost that buzz, It's like being 15, 16. In fact, it's more of a buzz, because I took it for granted when I was 16 and being in a band and stuff. But I used to practice a lot. I practiced the guitar a lot when I was 16 and 17. When I became a professional playing with Adam Faith, I didn't have to do anything. It was so simple. I was playing lead guitar, but it was also incredibly simple. I thought, oh, this is it. I've made it. And in fact, then all these other guitar players come along, and you realize that you haven't kept up with it, And so I've spent a lot of time actually getting back into the guitar. But I love doing it. I really enjoy it. I'm going on tour. I'm looking forward to that. I'm doing gigs, and I haven't done any gigs here since Argent. So that'll be fun. I've toured all, over Europe mainly. Yeah. I did a tour of America as well years ago with my own band, and it went really well. But it takes a lot of money to do it, to do this stuff. And so I only did one tour of America. I've had offers to go there and stuff, but there's never enough money really to do a good tour, and you need quite a lot to get out there. Got to pay the band, got to have decent musicians. But I'm really looking forward to playing live.
We'll have a look on the website for dates and stuff.
Yeah.
It'll be on there.
UMUmusic.com. UMUmusic.com.
We got it. Finally, question number 20. What's your motto?
Don't look back, look straight ahead. Because you know what we do? When you look back, you say to yourself, you feel guilty about the past, and you worry about the future. And we fill our heads up with this stuff. This is a good thing about getting older, you see, that you do fill your head up with this stuff. We feel guilty about the past. It's never coming back. We've done it. Let it go. It's not going to make you a better person, and it's not going to change anything. Let it go. Gone.
Last record is a track, one of the new tracks, and it's Proud Man. Just give us a bit of background on this one.
In this instance, in writing the song, I also, I was thinking about relationships, relationships I've been in, where you say, okay, you were too proud, now you've let her go. What are you going to do now? What are you going to do now? But, you can be too proud. It's fear again. It's that fear. We're so fearful. We're fearful of looking silly. We're fearful of looking, no. We're too proud.
Russ Ballard, thank you very much.
Thanks, Rob. I've really enjoyed it.